You go. All right. Awesome. So I'm recording, and thanks a lot, Kate. We are super happy to have Kate Kuehl here for our virtual fireside chat on with the Startup Grind University of Minnesota chapter. And super excited to have Kate here. Kate is a great human. Like the
Excited to be here.
achievements, the achievements that you have, honestly, are like really a lot. I cannot even explain and cannot even put them in certain words, right? And let's get started. I think the game plan for today is um, just I'm going to start with a little bit of an explanation of our startup grind chapter, and then we'll
Mhm.
move over to our virtual fireside chat and just learn from you.
Sweet.
Awesome. Cool. So let me quickly start with sharing my screen. um Alrighty. Cool. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, basically Startup Grind University of Minnesota chapter. That's the chapter that we belong to, which is of
Hmm.
course the chapter for the University of Minnesota students, right?
Hmm.
Startup Grind in general is a global community of entrepreneurs, right? It's basically uh, let me just maybe open the pop-up link as well, but it's like a I'm sure you guys are aware of it. So actually, another heads up, this is a recorded event, so we are given this virtual situations, and given also the fact that it's finals time for the students, we decided to
Hmm.
host this event as a virtual video event, which we will be posting on our Startup Grind University of Minnesota chapter. And the video will be available for uh, our members and even other people who wants to see it online on the YouTube channel of Startup Grind. All right. So having said that, whoever is watching this, basically Startup Grind is a global community of entrepreneurs. I'm sure there is one in your city because there's one chapter in at least somewhere near your place in the entire globe, basically, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
right. The way the works is basically like they have like city chapters. It's called Startup Grind chapters, and then they have like Startup Grind X chapters that belongs to like smaller cities, and then there's Startup Grind University
Hmm.
chapters. It's called SGU, right? We Startup Grind University of Minnesota is a SGU chapter because it's hosted by or maintained by students of the Startup Grind of the University of Minnesota University.
Hmm.
All right, so basically this is the community. You should definitely check out this link if you have not yet, and it has a plethora of resources in terms of learnings from speakers from all over the globe about how they have gone through their journey as an entrepreneur. And a lot of resources as well for students, or even for any, like, for people who are trying to enter this area of starting their own business, right, in any
Hmm.
dimension also. So cool. I just want to quickly touch
Yeah,
upon the
I've heard
product.
there's a pretty active one in Nairobi here, but I haven't been to it yet. But it's on my list.
They
I
are pretty
think
active, actually. They are
I've
pretty
seen.
active. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as you guys just heard, Kate said that she's in Nairobi right now. So I'm just gonna bring that point as well as I introduce Kate. But yeah, so quickly just touching a little bit upon Startup Grind values. Startup Grind is a very great community. Mainly, the values are so strong. It's about giving first before uh, getting first, for example, right? So giving
Hmm.
first as a big value, help others, and then help yourself, right? And then make
Hmm.
friend, not contact. So those are the three very big values that and Startup Grind community wants to uh, portray throughout the globe through their brand and through their identity. And this is a very strong values that belongs to any member or anybody who is part of the Startup Grind community, right? Quickly moving on, this is the Startup Grind University of Minnesota chapter. Just a little bit intro about myself. I'm a PhD student right now at the University of Minnesota, pursuing my PhD in computer science, specifically machine learning and psychology combination. And I am the chapter director of the University of Minnesota chapter. This is my email ID. If anybody wants to reach out to me for some sponsorship, partnership, or any other queries, feel free to reach out to me on rahul@startupgrind.com. This is our University of Minnesota chapter. I'll just quickly link you to that. So this is where we update more about our events and stuff like that. And if anybody
Hmm.
who wants to join the community, you can just sign up for the mailing list of the community, and you will be updated about any other events that we host. All right. Quickly moving forward, let's check out the global. Let's check out this video. Sorry, let me just maybe give a quick intro. So Startup Grind community have global conference. It's called the global conference basically that happens every year, generally in February. It used to happen in the Redwood City, so in the Bay Area, right? This year, of course, 2021, given the times that we are in, it's going to be virtual. So this is a quick video introducing about the Startup Grind Global Conference 2021, and let's just quickly check out this video. Awesome, cool. So as you guys saw, it's basically February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So feel free to check out the link and be ready for the global conference. Since it's virtual now, everybody can access from anywhere as well. So that's a great opportunity. According to me, very great opportunity, because you get to meet a lot of really great speakers in that conference. All right, so now let's just move on to the main person of the day, Kate Kuehl. Let me give me 1 second. Actually, I'm gonna unshare my screen once, because there's something that I was supposed to do and I cannot do that with sharing screen. All right. Let's not waste time. Let's move this here.
You can always just cut it out.
All right. So
Single video.
share screen again. Awesome. Cool. So all right. So let's all just welcome Kate Kuehl here. Our great speaker for Fireside Chat. Yay! Awesome. All right. Quick intro about Kate that I can give. She's a co-founder of Mobineo. She's, of course, an alumni of University of Minnesota. She has started her business when she was a student, and she has a plethora of experience in terms of entrepreneurship. She's like represented in multiple places. Like, for example, she won the Mini Envo 25 under 25 award for being the best entrepreneur student in 2018. And then she, of course, won the Student of the Year award as well from the Entrepreneurship Club at the University of Minnesota and the Holmes Center. And a lot more things that we're going to learn in this fireside chat. Let's learn from her personally instead of me sharing a lot more such details. But we are really glad to have you here, Kate, and really happy to have you here and learn from your journey, because you have shown tremendous, actually, really, like, a great, like the way you have taken things so far. It's inspirational, basically, and it's like an honor to actually have you here and learn from you. And I know we are friends, and I'm very authentic, but still there's a lot to learn from you. It's like really great to have you here as a speaker. Thank you.
It's funny because I still feel in the middle of my journey, but thank you.
Of course. I mean, definitely a journey. I totally agree.
You're always good at like pumping, like, or just like being like, I don't know. I've seen this with your other friends too. It's just like you're very enthusiastic about that, but I appreciate it, about the people around you. So.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I honestly feel that it's even I have not shared enough words that I should have for what you are. So
I feel embarrassed enough already, so I think you did a good job.
Cool. All right. So let's get started. Then let's get started with some questions, and we'll time this as well to make sure I'm not going overboard. So quick, another intro thing that I was about to mention about Kate, right? That you basically originally from Minnesota, right? Now you did your studies also in University of Minnesota, but currently you're in Kenya. So it's around like 9:30 p.m. Correct, if I'm not wrong, around that time.
Yep. 9:32 p.m. right now.
p.m. So thanks a lot for spending your time also like a late evening and giving your time to us. So really appreciate that.
As most programmers are, I am a night owl, so not a big deal. Awesome. Especially because doing working for various companies in the US, and I end up staying up late a lot. Which is kind of how it is.
Awesome. I'm happy that it's then not like taking a lot of your personal time right now at this evening. So, cool. All right. So let's get started. I want to start with a few questions just to understand you better, right? But just in the beginning, I would like to start with actually understanding your background. And like, don't mind me if I'm,
Mhm.
like looking and writing down because I'm going to take some notes to even learn from you and, ask questions accordingly. All
Okay,
right.
still feel a little awkward, but I'll take it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's just quickly start by understanding you as a person a little bit. Like, what's your
Mhm.
early background, right? So, I mean, for
Yeah.
example, you were a student at the University of Minnesota. You did your
Mhm.
double major. I mean, you started doing your double major, but you ended up being like a major in food science. Why don't you share a
Yeah.
little bit about your background first?
Yeah. I guess I started at the U of M in food systems, and I really passionate about, this issue of global hunger, like one of the toughest yet, yeah, it's one of the most fascinating issues. It's one of the toughest and one of the easiest challenges at the same time. But you end up with, like, we could solve this problem if we had the political will, but politics is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you end up with issues of climate and agronomy and distribution and economics and a lot of really fascinating issues. But yeah, I went off to Kenya to really learn more about the agricultural system here. And while I was here, I had some downtime. Like, you can't really like walk around at night in Nairobi as a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
So I just ended up coding a lot. And I realized, hey, I love both of these things. And computer science can really has a lot to give the world. That beyond, like, when I was growing up, I started programming when I was 10. But I thought, like, when I was going to college, oh, it's all video games or Silicon Valley. And it's like, oh no, there's so much to computer science beyond that. And you can solve some of the world's toughest problems or be a part of it, right? Like, I don't think technology solves everything, but um, yeah. And so ended up there. I was starting a major in computer science, ended up going to Kenya for a job and just, I don't know, halfway through my major. So I have a minor in computer science, but yeah, I ended up working for a company over here. Yeah, in the process of, doing my own startup. I think there's some people who can afford to just do a startup full time. I have just not, never got the funding to be able to do that. So always been working jobs at the same time, but still chugging
I
away at
totally
it and
agree.
really
Actually,
happy.
that's actually one of the greatest things to learn, like right off the bat, right? Like the fact
Mhm.
that for students, right, like majority of the student, let's say, like you
Mhm.
don't have earned money to kind of, let's say, bootstrap your company. So you in the initial
Yeah.
phase would have to, let's say, maybe work on your company along with working on a job, as you are at least
Mhm.
building the line of sight and getting the proof of concept of your business out, right? So that's, I think
Yeah.
that's totally the actually best way to operate in the as a early student phase, or even like even post student, as you are kind of getting more out to the market and learning more about, let's say, your business prospects as well.
Yeah, and I think bootstrapping and like being able and working alongside your business is not talked about often enough. There's kind of this myth that most people just instantly get funding from big donor or big investors and work on it and it becomes a $1 billion business. And it's just like that's not a reality for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Um, and you make it work, and it's it something I'm still really passionate about and still really working on is Mobineo. But I think it also hurt us, like being wanting to do business in Africa and wanting to do business with governments. Both of those are very difficult and even more difficult together,
Hmm.
even if it has an interesting value proposition and could help a lot of people. A lot of investors are focused on Silicon Valley for better or worse, and the don't see beyond that. So.
Even though I think slowly I feel the world is moving a little bit away from Silicon Valley as well. I've been seeing a lot of
Mhm.
stuff where now I feel like people are
Well,
realizing the fact
especially
that. Mhm. Sorry.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I mean, especially with COVID, I mean, the world is becoming less decentralized
Hmm.
and more remote. And I mean, that's been great for me. I've been able to work for American companies and live in Kenya. And So the first time I came over here, second time I came over here, I met my husband, and so decided to come back to live with him until I can get over, or we can get back to the U.S. But it's nice to be close to my business and and be able to work be able to work remotely and do a lot of work. And it means weird hours for me sometimes, but I'm still really grateful for the opportunity.
Actually, and I just realized that maybe in the intro I did not give clarity about Mobineo, because I was thinking of touching that point a little later. But looks like we should touch a little bit about Mobineo beforehand, because let's say people who are listening to this should understand the fact that you're operating a business in Kenya, and you started like so. So how about we just actually quickly start with what is your business, and like how did you reach there? Like, why did you start it? What's the motivation?
Yeah, so Mobineo is a company that makes land information management software. So we help document who owns what land in a digital platform. I was in Kenya actually doing research on rice supply chains the first time I was in Kenya. I was a student, and I got really interested in I was talking to this widow actually, and I was just like the economics didn't seem to make sense, because I was just like, you could invest more in your land, you could get a loan, invest more in your land, and get a return on investment that would seriously improve your livelihood. And I was just really confused, because I'm just like, this economics don't make sense. And talking with her, and when talking to her, she pointed out the fact that she is a widow and her family law is trying to steal her land, and getting a loan is super risky for something that is likely to be stolen. And investing in soil is not a thing that you invest in 1 year. You invest in the health of your soil over many, many years. Invest in equipment over many years. It's not, if people think of it as a 1 year thing, but it's often a much longer return on investment. And so, I just started reading and just getting obsessed with economists, aid workers, people who are writing about these issues of land. And realize that you can't build an economy without solidified property rights. It's like the economics break down very quickly. Like, a lot of the investments no longer make sense. And it's like, okay, so what's out there? And I wasn't happy with any of the solutions out there. And I'm like, okay, let's try building something. And I mean, even before that, I tried building something, I was just drawing out things, and I showed it to my co-founder, and he was just like, let's do this. And I'm like, I think he's the one that really convinced me, like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's try this. And he's an experienced businessman, done a lot more work on this, knows the Kenyan culture a lot better. And I'm like, I can write code. And it's funny how much I've come since then. Like, as far as software development goes, it's been, like, as you build something and as you work for other people, you gain a lot of experience. So I think I was a little egotistical back then, but luckily some other people joined on and helped me with it, and I've learned a lot since then. And I don't know.
That sounds
And we're in the process of trying to get it adopted. I don't want to go into too many details of that, because I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to talk about, but hopefully soon.
Wow, that sounds interesting though. I mean, even the gist of what you just shared sounds very pretty cool. So good luck for that. And
It's a process. Anytime, you can make tech, but seeing it in the real world and getting it implemented could be very different things.
I agree. Yeah, no, that sounds pretty cool. So actually, let's try to understand this a little better, right? Like, when did you, because you did your studies for 5 years, correct? Because you did a dual, right? And it's been almost 2 years after that when you have been working, correct? Right. So I just want, and I was trying to do this research as well. I was not able to figure it out, but when was the time when you actually started Mobineo?
Yeah, so that was 2015. And so there's been a lot of lulls in it, especially when I was going through school. So it's interesting that I still don't think there's anything on the market that beats us, which is fascinating in a lot of ways. I thought something would be on, we'd be beaten by now, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I think it's still it's a problem that's taken a while to solve. But yeah, so it's been 5 years, and it's
That's not.
been, and I think in like reading from other people, that's not uncommon. I
Mhm.
think a lot of
Yeah.
people see these technology companies just like shoot out of nowhere, and they don't see all the work up before that and all of the, mess ups and the pitfalls, and like they just see it skyrocketing. And
Mhm.
so it's really easy to think that that's how companies work, is they just start up in a year and then they're, you know, but like, Facebook, there was multiple predecessors to it. It it didn't happen overnight. You end up with at the end there kind of that trajectory, but
Mhm.
and plenty of other tech companies same way. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
the little Amazon bookstore or like online bookstore turns into what it is today. Like took a while to get there.
It's definitely a process, and like, again, I feel like depends on, even like, sometimes you get lucky because the time is right, and suddenly like
Mhm.
picks off because of some other factors and stuff like that, right? For example,
Yeah.
COVID definitely brought up certain things. Just, for example, we are on Zoom right now, we are trying to do this meeting on Zoom.
Mhm.
I'm like, Zoom were definitely heavily used even before that, but not this heavy,
Mhm.
right? So there was a quick boom because of circumstances. So overall, I think as a process, it it takes time for something to grow, because you first are understanding your market
Mhm.
space as well. You're understanding your product, your market, and the fit and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and honestly, like when we first started, the GPS tech, since we've started, the GPS technology has gotten a lot cheaper and more accessible. And like, when we first started, it wasn't quite like RTK systems were out there, but they've certainly come a long way since we started. And that's one of the key things that we rely on. So I don't think it's a bad thing that I mean, I wish it would have been a little faster, and I wish I would have made less mistakes, but I think that's, yeah,
no, I'm
I don't
sure
know.
there's a
And
learning. There's a learning, and I think I personally think that you guys are doing a great job actually with the way you're evolving us, even like the how you have maintained some of your digital marketing stuff and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So okay, so another quick thing, like based on what I understood, you're saying you started in 2015. That means
mm,
that you were more like in a sophomore, if I'm not wrong,
yep,
right?
yep, I was a sophomore.
So then,
I think, or I was a, well, by credits, a whole other thing, but yeah, about that was my
about
second
that,
year,
about that, right?
or
So
second or third year.
mhm, mhm. So there, then I'm just trying to understand, like, where is all this energy that's in Kate is coming from. I'm just trying to maybe understand you a little bit better in that form as well, right? So let's say you started this in sophomore year. When do you like when do you personally in your life realized, let's say, that let's say you are meant to do something of your own or do a business? And let me maybe pack a couple of questions in this, because it's more like a journey, right? So I just want to understand, when did you, let's say, first you felt like maybe you want to do something of your own, or you are meant to do something of your own? And then second thing is, when did you decide to take a step on that, that okay, now I
Mhm.
feel like it's so strong that I should take a step on that? And when you actually ended up taking a step on that, I mean, actually ended up taking a step, we kind of have a clarity based on what you shared right now, but
Mhm.
um, what about the other things?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just found an issue that I was so passionate about and that I had to make it.
Hmm.
I I don't know, I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur before, but like it was just like, I mean, I had like started things here and there, but I guess that identity hadn't been there.
Hmm.
And it still took a while, even after starting Mobineo, to really be like, oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Like that's just a weird term for me in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and just like there's not entrepreneurs in my family, it's just I hadn't seen it a lot, so I didn't have it modeled for me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of people in my family are just like get a job, live a happy life, and and like they do, like my adoptive mom is like absolutely wonderful and like volunteers and helps people in other ways, but like um yeah, to me starting a business was just the way to help like the world and like make a difference. Is like there's a problem that needs to be solved, how can I solve it? um and that's just, yeah, they just do it differently. um yeah, and I think, I guess I don't know, it just like kind of evolved over time, is just like talking about this idea. Like I was talking about this project with people, and then like one of my co-founders, Logan, was just like, that sounds cool. And like he's a lot quieter than I am, so like he joined and I didn't really know if he would like stick with it, and he's incredible and like yeah, and just really passionate about it, but passionate in a very different way than I am. And you know, in the same way that Dave communicates differently than I do, and you learn to manage and work through that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you know, and I think it's a mix of an internal drive and also external factors. Like, yeah, I mean, like if I saw in the market like this problem is solved, I would choose a different problem to
Mm-hmm.
solve.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would go a different way in life. I think some entrepreneurs want to be an entrepreneur so bad that they ignore every outside signal. And you and like sometimes if you really want to be an entrepreneur, find someone else's project that's doing really cool things and like join on with them. Like or keep looking for the problem that you're really passionate about instead of um, yeah, I've seen a few businesses where it's just like this doesn't seem like your gig, and I'm not sure the outside world is ready for it quite yet. But it's a mixture, right? And you live and you learn.
Mm-hmm. That's a great learning, right? So like I clearly see that, and I think that's a pattern, right? Like when somebody's trying to solve a problem, it's all about like the passion that they have. Like the way you said that, you had this passion to kind of solve this problem and like make
Mhm.
world a better place in that dimension, right? For that specific
Yeah.
situation, right? And then you went ahead like and as you were saying, like you're in sophomore, you're like pretty early stage, you are not even
Mhm.
having, let's say, a lot more senses of like, okay, you want to be an entrepreneur, or that's like the direction. It's just mainly the passion for the problem that you
Mhm.
started 5 years ago, and you are still on it, and you're doing a great job. I mean, you've done a lot of cool things on the path. So that speaks a
Thank
lot,
you.
right? Basically, if you have the passion for something, you basically go through the hurdles, right? You go through all the hurdles to reach that.
Yeah.
And I even liked what you said, the other thing, right? Like for example, some people ignore all the signals, and
Mhm.
I agree. Like sometimes what I personally believe is that some people want to be an entrepreneur. Like they don't want to, like
Mhm.
they're more committed to, like, okay, I want to be the CEO role than actually
Mhm.
looking for the problem. And that's when probably some people wants to just like go and not, like, for example, there's a problem that you want to solve and you're really passionate
Mhm.
about. If somebody else is already doing a great job in solving that problem, maybe join hands and help them solve the problem in together, right? Because so I think that's
Absolutely.
definitely, according to me, a better approach when you are more committed to the problem, or more
Yeah.
about the problem.
And I think there's some people that you know, they dream of starting a business, and I think a lot of it is having that power and control.
Exactly, yeah.
Um, and I think you can fail to listen to the people around you, giving you good advice. Otherwise, whether that be people on your team, people you employ, advisors, you know, and that doesn't mean you take everybody's opinion. Like I've heard people's opinion, like there's no money, like you can't make money in Africa, and I'm just like, no, like that's like it's an emerging market, and there's really, you know, there's ways to do good and you know sustain yourself and make money on your investment and be you know responsible about it and you know you have to take things with a grain of salt. Is like, okay, how much information do this have? Like if I hear something from someone that's a land expert in Africa, like I'll take that as a very differently than the random person off the street.
Mhm.
Like you learn to weigh these things.
Great point. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And so far, when I talk to land experts, you know, around the world or here, I've gotten really good feedback and like off like very passionate. And you know, sometimes like, oh, here's how I would improve this, but for the most part, it's been like, yeah, keep doing this. This
Mhm.
is needed in the world, and that drives me to keep going, even though. Yeah, I haven't had the luxury of being able to always, you know, I've had to work other jobs and you
Mhm.
know keep and you know you keep working on it, but yeah, I'm hopefully it's pretty close, so
Mhm. Awesome, awesome.
the
So
line
again, like
or to
we're
take me
talking
up
about
a
that.
little more.
That sounds pretty nice. That sounds pretty nice. But and again, bringing just touching that point again. I personally resonate a lot from the fact that you mentioned about the passion, right? Like even you just shared, like for example, you are getting those positive reinforcements from hearing from people that they feel that this problem, the solution to this problem is required, not from the fact that okay, you're gonna, let's say, make it like $1 billion. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
I'm not saying no to the fact that of course you have to, let's say, get the maximum out of the business as well, right? But I personally feel that in this route of on being an entrepreneur, right? If you want to kind of solve problem, if you're passionate about the problem, that's gonna help you go through all the hurdles and all the hard times to kind of stick to, because it's kind of coming, there's an inner desire to it, like
Yeah.
it's inside you, versus some fake motivations is where I feel like a lot of people fall through, right? Because a lot of startups, they start and then they, without like with initial failures, a lot of people give up. I
Mm.
personally know some examples actually. So yeah, so I think that's a great point that you shared here. I feel, like passion of something is a big thing to
And
kind
that keeps you more resilient, because if you like, you have to be resilient as an entrepreneur. It's not always rainbows and sunshine and the stuff you see in movies. It's like, and I think even within entrepreneurs, there's this tendency to not want to talk about the failures because you want to hype up the business and it's going great and it's perfect, and it's like, I've worked for a few startups and none of them are that way.
of.
um, it's you have to be able to say, okay. And for me, it was like I tried getting investment for a while, didn't succeed. It's like, okay, let's how can I bootstrap this? Like, I believe in this project, I believe that this can work.
Mhm.
um, Maybe there's other alternatives.
Awesome.
So
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that quote. I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, but it's like, if you only walk when there's sunlight, you will never reach the destination, right? So have to walk when it's kind of the night as well. All right. So cool. Let's move on. Let's little bit learn about, like your experiences in starting Mobineo, right? So I want to
yeah.
maybe understand. So here's the thing, right? You are a tech co-founder, correct? And you are also, you have gone through building a female, you're a female co-founder who is also tech
Mhm.
oriented, right? So you definitely have learned a lot in your journey, correct?
Mhm.
As you also mentioned earlier, in the 5 years of your time in Mobineo, I'm sure you started with some the persona that you were 5 years ago is different as you have learned your journey
Oh,
through,
absolutely.
right?
I
So
thought I knew a lot back then, which, you know, I
mhm.
probably still don't know a lot. I mean, we're human, right? Like, there's only so much we can know. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, I look back and I'm just like, holy crap, yeah, I'm, proud of how far I've come. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
No, I think that's exactly what. So I was just asking about the same thing. Would you mind looking back and reflecting on the journey together with us, and maybe sharing your
Mhm.
key insights that you think right now you have learned over the journey so far?
Yeah, one of them is, I think when I started, I was terrible at, I think because like, so the way I work is I really like being given a broad problem and just being like, go at it, which is probably why I'm an entrepreneur, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I learned that a lot of people I work with are not that way, and you need to break down problems and like, specify things and guide people and give feedback, and that whole process is super important. And expecting people to read your mind is not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's one thing I think I messed up very early on. Um, yeah, and you know, finding the right balance, because like, so right now we hire a few developers out of Kenya, basically out of the money I get from the US, which is interesting. But it's I think you have to, when you hire someone, you have to, find a balance. Like, you want someone that you don't have to hold their hand all the time, but someone that will take feedback. And and also, like, you need to manage things. You need to break them down. You need to take your vision of like what's in your head and actually disseminate it in a way that is understandable to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's one of the things I do. And then just like tech wise, I've, you know, 5 years for a software developer is a long time to learn. And a lot of things, yeah, just picking up there. And like, luckily early on, I had Yes, I mean, Logan came on pretty early on and had more experience than I did, and just, willing to dive into problems that he was and wasn't comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we had other people along the way. Yeah, it's interesting because like in that amount of time, we had some people that stayed and some people, one unfortunately that I really wanted to, but he had life circumstances, and yeah, you're just like, okay, we're gonna have to move on, even though such is life. Um, but yeah, I think that's one thing I did well early on is I listened at least. When people were just like, this is not how you do things. And you take feedback and
Mm-hmm.
you create a culture where people are comfortable giving feedback, I think is really important.
Very, very. Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think there's a tendency in a lot of entrepreneurs are pretty headstrong. And you kind of have to be in some ways because you have to be a little bit stubborn to, ride the waves and make things on. But you have to learn when to be stubborn and when to, you know, be stubborn with problems and kind on people. And yeah, just listen to feedback, I think is one of the most important things, and creating a culture where that's, you know, accepted. And yeah, like, I mean, yeah, anyways, just like being able to say like, hey, if you think I'm wrong, please tell me. I do not know everything.
Mm-hmm.
That and hire and be partners with smart people, and put trust in them.
Mm-hmm. Wow, wow. Those were really great things actually. This chunk of summary is like super valuable, I think, for any entrepreneur. Like just what I just noted down few key things that like stick to me. Like you first initially started with saying that over communication is a big thing because of the fact that you want to make sure that you there is something that's being understood very very well the way you're explaining, because
Mhm.
not everybody breaks down the problem in the like you have to break down the problem and give it to them and over communicate about what needs to be done. And then you also mentioned about like what's the like the people that you want to hire at least in the early stage of a company, right? Like you want to make sure that it's a
Mhm.
right balance, right? Which was a I think it's a
Mhm.
great point where you want to make sure that it's somebody who's interested in taking feedback and is listening to the feedback, but at the same time doesn't need to like kind of hold their hand throughout the way, right? Some really.
Yeah, and willing to give feedback. Like it's a back and forth,
Mhm,
and I think there's a tendency to find, just like you need to be, especially in tech, you need to be technically good. Like you need to be good at your stuff, right?
mhm,
But I think communication is sometimes underestimated. And like in an early stage company, if you have someone, you could drive a lot of people away if you
mhm.
make the wrong hire, if you hire a jerk. Um, so it's not a good idea.
Did you looks like you had experienced something that you learned from?
Um,
You don't
yes,
have
I
to
will
go.
not go into details.
Sure, I totally understand. I totally
But
understand. Makes sense. Sorry for yeah. All right. So I think, but I like the fact that like you spoke about the culture, right? Like building the culture of it, like building the culture of the positivity. That's a great point. That's a great point, right? So again, so another thing that I wanted to understand was that so you are a tech co-founder, correct? And you are the CEO of the company. So like, were there any hardships, let's say, that you had in the beginning because you're starting a business, so there are a lot of other things that are required, like from the side of business skills, right? Let's say where you felt that you're short of certain things, and then how did you cope up to that? Like how did you find solutions to those problems to continue growing Mobineo?
yeah, I mean, I think there's still some things that I'm terrible at. I don't think I'm good at raising money. Um, like part of it is maybe I tell it as it is too much, or it's just like, yeah, it's not perfect, but here's what's good and here's what's bad. And I think I need to get better on that hype, like that some people can do. And yeah, I don't know, I'm a techie at heart and I like getting into that. And so like there's still things that I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. But it was also a hard area to raise in. Like it's certainly not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think, yeah, I mean, when I started, my technical skills were not fully there,
Mm-hmm.
were really to run it. And I got lucky that I found some people that were and like saw the vision and were able to, I was able to grow into that and really learn. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, I guess anything in specific you're thinking of?
No, I think this is pretty good. I was just trying to just understand the same thing, and even like that fact that maybe if you ended up uh, like in your journey, let's say for example you mentioned about Logan as joining and he was a great energy towards the company, right? So like
Yeah.
did you look for the energies or the people that you want to be part of the company, which are kind of, let's say, complementary in certain dimensions? Like I just wanted to maybe understand, like, is there any area where you felt you struggled, let's say for example marketing, or
Mm-hmm.
like you kind of mentioned, like for example reaching out to investors or talk to investors is something that you just mentioned, right? So yeah, just wanted to understand if there's any other thing that you feel like, let's say, what that was the most difficult thing that you initially thought, and then maybe getting another energy which is kind of complementary to you in that area helped you kind of move towards and something like that.
Yeah, and I think one thing I've done well is like get a lot of mentors. Like there's a lot of people I feel like I can go to and ask questions that are more senior than I am, that have been through this, um, to give advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, that's really important. Is just take that and try not to make all the mistakes yourself. As far as like bringing people on the team, I think one thing I've really noticed is like it's interesting. Our team, like I'm an ambivert, like I'm a little bit more extroverted than most programmers are,
Mm-hmm.
and like I fall in the middle of the spectrum. But a lot of our team is introverts, which is kind of interesting. Um, uh, but I don't necessarily think like to be a good software developer you have to be an extrovert by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Like you hire people for what they're good at, but like they're good communicators at the same time. I think like they're able to, if there's an issue, they don't attack people, they attack a problem. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll just be like, hey, I think this is a better way to approach it. Even if they don't talk a lot. But it's interesting when you go into our meetings. There was Keehl, who was actually a lot of the marketing you saw was his work. He's was someone on the team. Unfortunately, in order, yeah, maybe was, yeah, he went on to another job that we couldn't match the pay for, um, but great guy. And I'm glad to be part of his journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was him and I talking a lot, and the other team like. I mean, Dave's a little bit more talkative, but a lot of the team is very quiet. But they're great people, and I think sometimes great communication is thought of as talking a lot, and that's not necessarily true. I think you can be a very effective communicator and an introvert and, do great work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. 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 And that's where I think, like what you shared initially, right? Like building that culture of, uh, communication and feedback together as a team is like a great thing. Like I feel like if your team together is like comfortable enough, by being themselves in the team, like if their values, if their feedbacks are respected, if their points are respected, they will feel more comfortable sharing more of their perspectives and feedbacks. So I think that's a great point. I actually think to kind of build that culture to support all kinds of personas. Some people are, let's say, extrovert or over communicate by themselves. Some people do not. So, uh, oh, all right. Hey, you are on mute.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, no, that's okay.
Um,
It's all good.
yep, I just asking my husband for a charger so I could continue on because my battery's low.
Sure, I can wait. Should I wait?
Um, I think it'll still be good. We can keep going.
All right, cool. So yeah, I was just saying that yeah, that's a great learning point that you shared here, right? So cool. Let's just move on a little bit to the next sections, and I do understand it's kind of late for you as well, so we can quickly wrap up. When we have learned enough from you, we have already learned a lot from you and your journey, right? Um, cool. So another thing that I wanted to touch upon, right, is um, so the couple of things that I just wanted to quickly
Mhm,
touch upon that I want to maybe have discussed in this conversation. One thing
mhm,
is like the your exposure to at least the local University of Minnesota resources and stuff like that. There I have
mhm,
a couple of questions that I will quickly touch upon, and those will be a great point to kind of end our discussion also, so that the students and
mhm,
the users kind of have a greater sense of how they can do that. Um, yeah, actually let's do that, and then we'll come back to the last point in the end. So let me just ask a few things, right? Let me actually quickly share a few interesting things with the users again here, with the audience here again as well, right? So, Kate, you won like a mini, 25 under 25 award, right? That's from, and then you want like the best entrepreneurship of the student, best student entrepreneur of the year in 2018. You won the best pitch award also in 2015 in the thing, right? And then you have, of course, won a lot of other hackathons and stuff like that. I remember one of those was the mini hack where you won the first prize. So they've won like multiple sorts of prizes. You have presented a lot of time in mini demo. I have seen people share your talks. You have like presented in certain conferences and stuff. So you have like a lot of experience that you have. Like your presence in the University of Minnesota local community is a lot. Like everybody who is, let's say, involved in the entrepreneurship community here, the startup community here, knows you some way or the other. Like, and I actually, for example, let's say even the class that we have here, right? Like the startup customer development class that we have here, right? From the University of Minnesota, they're also like different. um videos about like the problem interview or the solution interview that you should do in the early stage of the building company. They're like interviews of you explaining what's the best way to do it and stuff like that. So given the fact that you have so much vested, uh, you know I can wait.
Oh no, it's good now. Sync. Yep, it's charging.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So I was just saying that given the fact that you have, invested so much of your time and energy in the local community here, and you have, have presence in all the places. I just wanted to understand what are the key things that let's, if you can group and tell students like different areas that you can, um, like for example that you can start like early on from, let's say, starting the business. What are the resources that I can use in the early on starting the business, be it legal or be it mentorship based, or like the journey, throughout the journey, what are the different things a student or a local community member here at the University of Minnesota and Minneapolis can do to kind of have their business presence and grow their work.
Yeah. And I don't know like if people should follow in my footsteps because I think in a lot of ways I spent a lot of time networking and trying to get and funding and other stuff that never paid off. So
Like
I mean
according to me,
I got a lot of advice and a lot of mentorship along the way. It's hard to say if it was worth it or not.
I would.
Um,
I'm sorry. I would. I totally understand. I'm sure you are the better judge of your situation. I would just maybe share my perspective. I think it was worth it because here's the thing. Like first of all, you are the CEO. I think like your goal is to kind of get your business out and talk to the people and the right mentors. And even though, let's say, it doesn't look like it didn't pay off because, let's say, you did not raise some specific funding that you're looking for, I believe the experience of that has first of all grown your network, have grown your presence here, and also most important thing according to me is that it has you have learned like the in the entire journey you have learned a lot, which maybe looks like it did not pay, but tomorrow when you get your investment with the right investor, it's not going to be because you had the talk with that person just tomorrow, but because of all the
yeah.
work that you did so far to kind of understand the right way to network. I think networking is a great skill, specifically I believe for a CEO of the company. That's my perspective though.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I think part of it is I spent a lot of time in the Minnesota community hoping that they would be interested in this international project, and that didn't end up being the case.
Mm-hmm.
From the people I met, going back, I would have focused a little bit more on, you know, networking within Sub-Saharan Africa. It's a little harder to, you know, when I was living in the US to make that connection, but it's things I'm working on now, is building that presence and, you know, just knowing where the right places to look are and right places to, you know, put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I certainly love the Minnesota entrepreneurship community. People are really supportive and um, yeah, it's great experience in a lot of ways. You know, and presenting at mini demo and getting on a stage and presenting a tech product and learning how to communicate technology in a way that's super accessible is important. As far as resources go, I would say University of Minnesota, like go to John Stavik at the Home Center. He is incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, I didn't John is wonderful. It's hard to judge John a little bit though. Sometimes how he reacts, because he's giving feedback, which is like super valuable feedback, but you're just like, does this guy like me? And then he was one of the people that helped me get entrepreneurship student of the year, or like do that. And he's wonderful, like great guy. But yeah, he's just like, yep, you should work on this, you should work on this. And I'm like, cool, okay, sweet, and very, very helpful. And then Carla there is also really great. Like the whole home center is wonderful. Along with that, there is the student law clinic that will help with business advice. At the home center, they come every once in a while, but they do longer term things as well. Outside the university, there's Legal Corps that can be very helpful. So that helped us a lot of the business stuff. We still had to do a lot of stuff with researching land in sub-Saharan Africa, and there's still a lot we have to do there because every country has their own laws, and that gets complicated. But yeah, at least for as far as setting up a business, that was really useful. There's definitely many classes you can take that just give you feedback and help you hone your pitch and hone, I think I'm, not perfect now, but I'm a little less rambly than I was before. So, it's progress. Yeah, and I think just, I think one of the valuable things though is like listening to other entrepreneurs who are really straightforward and honest about the ups and the downs. I think you have to kind of sometimes, when people are pitching, they're saying the nice parts of things. And I think you have to, way to like get through that a little bit and then find your people, and you can be like, yeah, so I was working with this graphic designer and like, oh my Lord. And like, anything that, things go wrong in a business. And you're just like, this is not what my vision was. And it's not, I can't communicate. How do I communicate this vision of what I want and like into a terms that graphic design when I'm not a graphic designer, like that kind of thing. And it can be helpful. So.
Awesome. So yeah, just so that I think I noted everything. So mainly, if what I see, you are saying that mainly, for example, Gary Home Center is a very great resource for students who want to get started. And you mentioned like John Stavik and Carla Pavon being one of the really key persons, that you can reach out.
Yeah. Oh, and beyond that, it really depends on your business. Like if you're a tech business, and you have any hardware components, there are grants through the electrical engineering department. If you want to make a food product, there's a lot of really helpful people in the food science department. Yeah, a lot of the professors are really helpful if you just reach out and you're just like, I'm running into this problem. Do you know anyone, or do you know this, like where I could look for this answer? Librarians are super helpful when you're trying to research things. Yeah, it really depends on, you just kind of have to find who to ask. And it depends on the business.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. And you also mentioned a little bit about the classes. So like based on my understanding personally, there's like Technological Leadership Institute that have some nice classes, and then the MGM, like the Carlson group, have some interesting classes. Is there any other group of classes also that you felt like were really helpful to kind of help you?
I mean, taking a class in geospatial databases was super helpful. Like, it's just like, what do you need to learn, and like, can you make that work in your school schedule, and go from there and understand a lot of these concepts that will propel you forward. I'm trying to think of others. Yeah, some of the main ones. Yeah, it really depends on what you're looking at. And one advice I'd give is like, if you are interested in starting a business abroad, study abroad in that country, go there, ask people, get to learn the culture. I've seen a few people try to start businesses without ever visiting the country. I would highly advise against that. Yeah, it's if businesses are a product of culture in a lot of ways, and you have to understand the context which you're working with, and even better, find someone from that country to work with you, and start something together.
Like you have, right? So you have one of the co-founders.
Yeah, and he's, in navigating many of the cultural and political aspects, like absolutely vital to what we do. Because yeah, I like making products that people love, but there's gaps, and knowing your gaps and where other people fit in is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Awesome, awesome, cool. So yeah, and then I just touching upon the other point that you mentioned about legal. You said like
Mhm.
this. You said about the student clinic, the student law clinic at the U, and then you also mentioned about legal core, right?
Mhm.
Like those are some key resources that you felt like helped you kind of grow in the community.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And for the most part, unless you're doing something that's healthcare related or other highly regulated area, I would say don't get too bogged down in the law, and don't get overly concerned. Like you can't have everyone sign an NDA, for better or worse. Do it when it's necessary, obviously. When like if it's if there's some sort of competition or potential, like use your best judgment. Um, but yeah, don't get too bogged down in business plans and other things. Like just try to, I mean, obviously register your business, but try to just start as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you have the resources to hire a lawyer, that's always great, but not everyone does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Makes sense. All right. That sounds great. And then, so when you got represented in the 25 under 25, right? The entrepreneurship in Minnesota or Minneapolis, correct? So the approach to that was just that you kind of started presenting everywhere, and you kind of had the articles out, and you were just reached out by uh, some agency, or like how did you expose your business basically? Let's say a student is kind of working on their business. How did you kind of make it uh, bigger and bigger such that the community is kind of starting to know about it?
Yeah, so for Mobineo, especially, that's nominated by some of the leaders in the community.
Hmm.
So getting to know the people that are leaders in the community, and you know, and like it's doing some of the things of like in there's a philosophy that we talk about with startup grind is like help first. And so I would give free technology advice or be like, hey, I know a friend that might be really good for your business, and just be helpful. And this is with limits. Like if someone wants you to spend like 100 hours on their business, start to have some conversations about equity, or like, hey, I need to limit my time, but I know someone that might be able to help. Like give within reason. But I think that's one thing I did is just try to be helpful. And and you meet cool people along the way, and learn their story. I think people have I think every entrepreneur has a genuinely interesting story.
Hmm.
Um, and you learn crazy things about industry. You'll just like meet someone in the food industry and you're like, that's how that works. Like, and like, if you talk to Uber in its early days, you'd be like, that's how taxis work. Like, this is how this is done. And you just realize these inefficiencies and these crazy stories, and um, just ask about it and just be curious.
Yeah. Wow. No, actually, you definitely, I second that, the fact that you have been like definitely giving first. You, even personally, you have helped me, get some really nice contacts and kind of grow in this journey. So that's,
And I mean, a lot of the stuff is easy. It's like, you just be like, oh, I know a person, and it takes like a few minutes to send over an email. And it can, for
not
one of my
everything.
friends, I actually helped them get their first investor and their first customer just by doing that. And it was just like, I don't know, it didn't take long of my part, but it ended up working.
Hmm.
So, at least for that time, they have a longer story in their business, but
Interesting. Interesting. Cool. All right. So it's almost time to wrap up. I just have a couple of questions, and I will, wrap up with that. I think one thing that I just wanted to, uh, you know, ask is that, like, since let's say again, the fact that you have this energy and aura, around you and in you, that kind of your, kind of,
I don't know if right now, because I feel like a little under pressure because it's an interview, but yeah, I
I,
appreciate it.
uh, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, like, based on my presence with you and stuff, I know that like you have like, even if we just look at the things that you've done in your journey so far, right? Like with how you evolved, how you have, started a business in a completely different country. You went to visit that country and, found like genuinely got attached to the problem by talking to a human. So you literally connected with the problem, got the passion of starting a business. You took a step of literally finding a co-founder in a completely different country, learned that long language, moved here.
My Swahili's a little iffy. I don't say I'm not fluent. Don't give me
But
too much
but
credit.
you communicate. That's what the main thing of language is. And again, like like move
I'm
here.
lucky my co-founder speaks English, but yes.
Yeah, cool. But just saying that like then moving here, then kind of growing your presence here, community here, kind of building your business over 5 years. You're working on it. That you're also trying to work on your other jobs as you're working on this business and still running it, and you're back in Kenya. I think it's a great journey, right? So what I wanted to understand is there like personally, this is a little bit deep, like maybe your self reflection question. So it's totally all right. Also, if you feel like we should skip it for now, but I wanted to understand, like, have you ever like self-reflected and let's just saw or like realize that okay, this is something that you feel it's different in you as compared to the people that you see around you? Like, what do you think is like the key thing, that there is so much energy in you, there's so much enthusiasm to learn and grow? You're really learning a lot of things every time. Like, even I have seen you learning technology and like all sorts of stuff and growing, right? Have you personally like, do you realize there's something, some secret sauce or something that's different in you that you see as compared to the people around you? And what is that?
I mean, like I see it in a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Like a lot of entrepreneurs are very passionate people. Like they, want to solve a problem. I don't think I'm unique in that way. I think a lot of programmers and a lot of people in science are curious people, and I think that I match that in a lot of ways. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's like, I mean, I'm me, obviously, and every person is unique. But like some of the same things that you talk about, that energy, like you have that totally, and like that passion, and like I think it's a rare thing. I don't think every person has the entrepreneurial spirit. But among entrepreneurs, you'll find like a lot of resilience, a lot of stubbornness sometimes, and learning to harness that stubbornness in a good way is very important. Um, but yeah, I don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody. I think it takes a lot of resilience. It takes like taking like rejection pretty well, like, and just like taking feedback very well, and like um it's a thing you can learn for sure. I think like you look at artists who get critiqued on their art, they learn how to take critique and they learn how to give critique in productive ways. Um, but it can be hard. It can be hard when like you talk to an investor and they're just like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. And you're just like, well, and like not taking it personally. Like a lot of these people, don't know the problem, don't know the context. You take it with a grain of salt, but but also reflecting on yourself and saying, okay, what can I do better? How can I improve? How can I improve my business? How can I improve what I'm doing? And doing that on a regular basis.
Great, awesome. I think that, yeah, I totally reflect that as well. I think that makes a lot of sense. So awesome. Let's just wrap up with this last question that, now let's say there's some students who are watching this, some students who are trying to maybe take their step into the journey of, being an entrepreneur, trying to solve a problem that they're passionate about. And, a lot of female entrepreneurs as well who wants to kind of this journey. And like, is there any words of motivation or, awareness that you want to quickly share with somebody who's kind of going towards, who wants to take this path, but let's say is having a second thought?
Yeah, I say especially for women and non-binary folks, and and anybody that identifies as different, it can be hard in a lot of ways because um, yeah, I mean, you like, for example, like it's really common that I've heard among my male friends is like an investor will take, I mean, if they find an investor, they'll have to go out for a beer. But like you're going to take a young woman as an older man out for a beer, like it looks weird. Like, like there's some dynamics here that are just like, okay, well, coffee. Let's like, first of all, that's a much better choice. And like, how do you navigate these things? And yeah, finding role models I think is important for anybody. And I think for anybody is finding resilience. And if someone understands your problem and is an expert in this area, listen very closely. If they're not an expert in the area and they're just like, this is not an area to invest in, don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's and learning those dynamics and learning to work with them. And like I've had a male investor say, I don't invest in a women-found business unless they go through what's that? There's one female tech. Yeah, anyways, it doesn't matter. But unless they go through this one specific program, but he didn't put that requirement on any other dudes. And it's just like, oh, okay. He's like, well, I trust them. And it's like, okay, but like you're putting an extra barrier that you're not putting on men. And it's like, it seems, like you have to do your due diligence, of course, but like, are you making it fair for everyone? And sometimes it's not. And I've met a lot of investors or entrepreneurs. Some of them just have family money, and like and you hear all the time, oh, just get it from family and friends. And I'm like, which family and friends are gonna like? I come from a decidedly middle class background. That's not, and then you take even entrepreneurs that come from like lower income backgrounds. Like it's just not realistic for a lot of people. And and like you take your own path, and the stories you hear about entrepreneurs don't apply to most of us. Even if you're a white dude, like not every white dude comes from wealth and can just like snap and like ask his parents for money. Like that's just not how it works. But if you have other things on top of that can make it even more difficult. And I don't know, you find, you take the stories with a grain of salt, you find your own path, and you persist.
Wow, that was very valuable. Like find your own path and you persist. That was a great way to end it. Thanks a lot. That was amazing. All right. So is there, I think that's pretty much it. I think we are done with this talk. I think I really, really appreciate, we value a lot the fact that you gave so much of your time and so many insights. Is there anything like closing comments that you want to share? Um,
Um, Sorry, was telling my husband to stop moving furniture. We just moved. No, I mean, like, I think it's just like find something if you want to become an entrepreneur, find something you're passionate about, build off of that. Look into bootstrapping, look into finding other people that can help you. But yeah, I think that's all I have.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks a lot, Kate. We really, really respect and appreciate your time. And
thank you. Oh, Lord.
all right. Cool. So nice catching with you. And I hope you have a great night and sleep tight. And good luck with your
Thank
journey.
you.
Thanks a
Talk
lot.
to you later. Bye.